afternoon, Pokésports, and welcome to another tier list video. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and look at the poison type in Sword and Shield and determine which are the best, which are the worst, which are absolute trash, and which are actually decent. If you guys are excited to hit the like button down below. If you guys are hyped for Pokemon Legends Arceus, also hit the like button down below because we will be uploading a Let's Play of that game on this channel, and I'm super hyped to play it because I've been spoiled and I am very interested. If you guys have remained spoiler free, best of luck to you. The game's gonna be good, it seems. I haven't played it yet. We'll find out. Anyway, onto the tier list. So, like you guys know, top of the top, bottom of the bottom, where are we gonna go? Who in the poison type is top of the top, best poison type mon? I think this is kind of not too obvious, but people could have seen it coming. Both Venusaur and Venusaur G-Max are both great additions to any Rain team. Kyogre is so popular right now. Rain team? Sun team? Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Kyogre is popular right now, and Venusaur is a great counter to Kyogre. Not like a hard counter, but you can pretty much take care of any Kyogre, set up the G-Max Vine Lash, or just set up, you know, with the Max Overgrowth. Probably you want to go G-Max. Venusaur on G-Max is still usable. It's essentially the same thing, but if you can get G-Max it, G-Max it. Do the Max Vine Leash or Lash, and then just sit there, let your opponent take residual damage every single turn, and win the game. Essentially, that's how it comes down to. Groudon, Venusaur, Venudon is just such a strong combination. If you want to make it even stronger, you add a Charizard. But that brings us to the bottom of the bottom. Worst. The absolute worst. This is actually difficult for me. Because there's so many Pokemon here that they're bad, but they're not like bad, right? I think I'm gonna go ahead. I mean, I want to say Ariados. It's between Ariados, Dustox, kind of that bug poison vibe I'm getting, you know? It's not a great place to be. I mean, Ariados could at least do sticky webs, right? It could at least do that in singles. So let's go and stick Dustox on bottom of the bottom, worst poison type in Sword and Shield. Is it true? Who knows? Let's see what the rest of the list turns out to be. Let's see. Now, as like I'm looking through this list, you do see some pretty strong Pokemon that aren't necessarily meta, but aren't necessarily awful either. So those kind of get honorable mentions. Like, I think a solid A tier is Crobat, because it does get inner focus, so you can't fake it out. It also does get Tailwind support, Taunt support, and it's also one of the fastest Pokemon in the game with like a base 130 speed. So that's not bad at all. And heck, if you really wanted to Dynamax it this this time around, you can go ahead and do that because it does have really high attack as well. And you get max Airstream access. So I think a solid A tier is definitely going to be Crobat. And looking at the D tier now, I guess Ariados is a perfect spot for a D, because it does something. It doesn't do it the best, but it does something. It's not an awful Pokemon by any means. Moving on, I do think that another solid B are kind of these two. I think these two are solid B tiers because they kind of do what Venusaur does, but a little bit differently. Both Vileplume and Victreebel are grass poison types that also get chlorophyll, but Venusaur is just the fastest of all of them, and it hits the hardest out of all of them. So I think that simple fact, the fact that they're bad Venusaurs, doesn't necessarily make them bad, it just makes them not as used, and a B tier. Like, if for some reason you wanted to be a Poke hipster and you ran Victreebel instead of Venusaur, you could probably still get the job done. Just know that there are better options that can do it a lot more efficiently. But yeah, that's a solid B tier for them. Moving on. Tentacruel, I think it's another solid B. I don't think Tentacruel is bad. And with Dynamax and with Weakness Policy and Bulldoze, and I think it gets Clear Body, so you can't actually lower the speed on it. You got an interesting strat there. It's not awful. And with its special defense and decent special attack, you can still plow through some teams. Of course, there are better water types in the game like Kyogre. But, you know, in metagames where Kyogre is not around, and metagames where, you know, Dynamax is a thing like Series 5 or Series 6, Tentacruel can be a serious threat. Like, I would not want to see a Tentacruel on the other side of the field with like a choice scarfed Bulldoze. from whatever Pokemon at that point. Any Pokemon would make me sad. Break weakness policy, sweep. Gengar is another one that's an A tier for me. I think Gengar is versatile, right? I don't think Gengar is as good as Venusaur, obviously, but it's versatile in the sense that it can be a Trick Room setter, it can be a special sweeper, it can be a support mon with Icy Wind and Taunt. Like, you have options with this Pokemon, even Will-O-Wisp. So Gengar has options, and sticking Sash on it just makes it a very fast Will-O-Wisp or very fast Taunt or very fast Trick Room. I mean, Trick Room is -7 priority, but you get what I mean. People never see it coming. It's the type of Pokemon where you never expect it to Trick Room, and it'll Trick Room right in front of your face. So I think Gengar, just because you don't know, and also on top of that, it does have the Bisharp combination with Sludge Wave and Bisharp. Speaking of Sludge Wave combinations with Bisharp, Naganadel, another A tier. I would put Naganadel, no, I would actually put it under Gengar in my opinion in A tier. It's still very good. You do kind of need a Scarf or a Specs. It does have a problem where it's not as fast as current meta. Even though it is fast, it can be faster. And there's some very crucial Pokemon that do outspeed it. And you don't want them to outspeed it. But all in all, if you can get 1 KO, you can get a Beast Boost and start taking over the game. So I think Naganadel, being what it is and being an Ultra Beast and being that strong, does warrant it for an A tier there. Let's look at the bottom of the list. I'm looking at Swalot. I'm going to put Swalot in D tier. I know Swalot gets like stockpile and stuff, but all in all, I can't imagine it's that incredible because I don't see it being played literally ever. I don't want to say it's F because I do see a purpose to it. It does have, you know, whatever, your stockpiles spit up combination. I'll keep it in D, but all the way at the bottom of D. Seviper, I'm gonna go ahead and stick an F tier. I don't see Seviper doing anything. Like, Seviper is just kind of, both Seviper and Zangoose, but really cool design Pokemon, super cool lore. I wish they would do something by giving them an evolution or giving them a Hisuian form or give them anything. But they're just so under average. Like, they're so below average. It's not even worth it, in my opinion, to stick them on a team. Because they're just... You can get a Vileplume for a lot better than you can make a Seviper do anything. Solid C tier is going to be Scolipede because it gets such a unique ability. I mean, of course, it's not unique because there are some Pokemon that do get Speed Boost as well, like Sharpedo and like Blaziken. But Speed Boost is an interesting ability in and of itself because you essentially guarantee yourself a +1 if you run Protect in Speed. Along with that, I also do know that Scolipede is very good in singles for setting up entry hazards and maybe even rapid spinning them away or having that option. I'm not 100% sure. I know there's entry hazards and it gets a +1 in speed. You don't quite see Scolipede in VGC too much, which is why I'm not too familiar, but I think it's a solid C. It's pretty average for me. The Weezings, I think both of them kind of deserve to be in the same place because both of them do the same thing. I'm gonna say Weezings are definitely up here in A tier. We're gonna see a lot of A tiers, I feel like they're definitely not S tier. I wouldn't consider Neutralizing Gas to be the end all be all. It's definitely the most unique ability of any Pokemon, in my opinion. Just turning off all abilities right as you walk in and then just eliminating bad abilities from Pokemon. Like, you know, when BDSP gets allowed into Sword and Shield, people are gonna be playing the heck out of Slowking and Weezing. So, you know, I see it in A tier. I see it as a very strong core. I'm going to add on a little bit to the S tier. I think Eternatus does deserve to be S tier just because compared to every other Pokemon in this list, it is just better than Naganadel. And it's also seeing a little bit of play currently as well. Also, one of the few legendary Pokemon that have a poison type, poison and dragon. It is seeing some competitive play because it is tanky as heck. You stick lefties, you build cosmic power, you sit in grassy terrain the whole time, and you just never go down. Super terrifying. So keep your eyes on Eternatus. That might see more play later on. Who knows? Roserade. Roserade's a B. It's another grass poison that isn't Venusaur, except this one is a little bit worse than these two because it doesn't even get chlorophyll. Its abilities are actually a little bit lackluster. You get Poison Point and Natural Cure, like... Come on, Chlorophyll would have been so good for this Mon, and it would have made it the better Venusaur, but I see why they didn't want to do it, because they didn't want to butcher Venusaur. They want, like, you know, the first Pokemon in the Pokedex to be played, which is why, you know, Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise are all seeing played, because they're all pretty decent in most case scenarios. So, yeah, I guess Roserade, solid B. It's not as good as these, but it's definitely not as bad as Scolipede, in my opinion. I want to put Nidoking in B as well. Nidoking can definitely do something, and Nidoqueen, kind of same thing. In the ground type tier list, I had them on different sections, but the more I think about it, they're very similar. They're both Sheer Force Life Orb. They're both, you know, build special moves and sweep for the most part. Just one is tankier than the other. It's just, it comes down to numbers on a piece of paper. All in all, they accomplish the exact identical thing. Arbok, I'll give C. I'm giving Arbok C because Arbok does have access to Intimidate, which does give it some more utility. A lot more utility than Ariados and Swalot both have. Oof, this is gonna be hard. Nihilego A tier. AL at the top. Because Power Herb, first off, unique type, cool typing, very strong. Very high special defense, very high special attack. Does have kind of mid-tier speed, but that does give it access to playing both inside and outside of Trick Room, or does give it that option at least. Yeah, I think A is a good place for it, because Meteor Beam Power Herb is a thing, and it's so terrifying because it gets it for stab, and you get a free +1, and if you do get the KO, you get a +2 at the end of that turn because of Beast Boost. And on top of that, you do have access to Trick Room, and if you get Sash, you're fine. Does kind of fulfill that special sweeper role very well. Quilfish, I'll give it a D. Reason I'm giving Quilfish D is because Quilfish does at least have access to Aqua Jet, which makes it useful for Colossal and doesn't do a lot of damage. Let's go to Toxapex. Now, Toxapex was very, very played in singles when it was first released in Generation 7 because it was so tanky. It has an incredible typing. It has a cool signature move. It gets access to spikes, toxic spikes, etc., etc. I don't know what the play is like right now in singles, but I'm assuming it's still just as good. Toxapex, I'll give a solid A just for its play in singles, not so much as play in doubles because it doesn't see too much play in doubles. But yeah, solid A. Garbodor, I'll give it a C. Just because with the G-Max, you can maybe make something happen, right? It isn't the worst Pokemon. It's definitely not the best, but it's definitely better than Swalot and Quilfish. Venomoth, I'll give it a C because you do have access to, you know, Sleepy Time moves and stun moves. What's that? There's a setup move. Quiver Dance. It has access to Quiver Dance as well, so you can do something with Quiver Dance setup. I would say it's better than Garbodor in that sense. Toxicroak. Toxicroak gets access to Fake Out, gets access to Faint, gets access to Draining Punch, gets access to Dry Skin, so it's actually really good against Kyogre. I think that's a solid B as well. Probably better than the Nidokings and Nidoqueens. Drapion. I wish Drapion was better. I'll give it a B, but I don't think it's very good. I'm inclined to put it in C if it wasn't for what's in C already, because what's in C already is, you know, this would be at the top of C, but I'll put it at the bottom of B. Because Drapion relies a lot on crit chance to be good, and the problem is its attack is very low and its defense is really high. Like, if you'd have a whole Pokemon rely on crit chance with Sniper and, you know, doing a lot of damage with your crits, give it a bunch of high crit ratio moves and a scope lens, then you get a 1 in 4 chance of critting. Problem is, that's still 25%. That's a failing grade on the test, folks. That's not very good. So go and say B tier for that. A lot of Pokemon are gonna be B tier. I think another one would be both the kings and the bros, you know? The king and bros. Okay, if I'm putting Slowking, yeah, you're going to top of C. Sorry, Drapion. We're gonna have to start making C tier a little bit different because this is getting way too long, and I don't feel like, you know, I feel like there's a discrepancy in the usefulness of these two Pokemon. But, you know, both the bros and the kings, they're good. They're really good at setting up Trick Room and then sweeping in Trick Room. That's kind of what their main focus is. They're not the best Trick Room sweepers, but they do their job and they get the job done. Dragalge does have a cool ability with adaptability. It doesn't see too much play though, and I think the reason why is its special defense is the primary focus on the Pokemon when it should be the special attack. If the special attack was the primary focus, then maybe that Pokemon can see a little bit more play. But the fact of the matter is, it has a cool ability, but nothing gets done with it, right? You might as well use one of these two when it comes to poison dragons. Muck, I'm going to say Muck is D? I don't think Muck is worse than Garbodor, so I'm going to say Muck is a solid C. Muck does have access to Shadow Sneak and a bunch of other cool moves, does have access to Taunt, and Alolan Muck is a lot better than Muck though, but unfortunately Alolan Muck isn't allowed in the game. I don't know why they decided to leave that one out, because Alolan Muck was actually useful. But hey, whatever. I'm not Game Freak. Beedrill, I'll give a D. I don't think Beedrill does anything. Mega Beedrill is so much better because it gets adaptability just like Dragalge, except it doesn't have a high attack, which makes use of the adaptability. So, that's my stance on that. Skuntank is, I'll give you top of D. I don't think Skuntank accomplishes much. The only cool thing about Skuntank is that it gets access to Fire Blast and Flamethrower. That's it. Salazzle, I'll give actually a pretty high grade too. I think Salazzle has some usage. I think Salazzle has some usage because Salazzle gets a very fast fake out. It does get access to pretty cool sweeping moves. And also, you could hit a steel type with poison move if you really want. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. The option is there. That's also a cool, interesting thing about Salazzle is the fact that it can hit like a truck. It does get access to overheat. Its defenses are awful, but it doesn't matter because you just give it Focus Sash. Toxtricity, where are you going? I think Toxtricity is another B tier. Maybe around there with Salazzle. It does have access to Punk Rock, Overdrive, Boom Burst, and a bunch of other fun moves. Snarl. It does have a G-Max. The G-Max is pretty interesting. It does have like a 50, not 50. It has a chance to poison and a chance to paralyze somebody, so that makes it pretty interesting. And then ending the list off, we have Amoonguss. Where are we putting Amoonguss, folks? You guessed it. S tier. Amoonguss gets the S tier. Amoonguss is a very great Pokemon. Very good next to Xerneas. Grass Poison in general is a very great typing. You could see that the majority of S tier is Grass Poison. And there's like 3 more Grass Poisons in B tier. So definitely great typing in general. Gets the job done. Amoonguss is a tank. Has access to Regenerator. Has access to Rage Powder. Has access to Foul Play. Has access to Pollen Puff. Has access to Spore. It does it all, folks. That's why it deserves to be S tier. That's my list. If you guys enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I hope to see you guys again here tomorrow for another tier list. We're getting very close to Pokemon Legends Arceus. If you guys are excited, make sure to like the video and hit the bell button so that you don't miss any Legends Arceus when I do inevitably upload it on the channel. Anyway, I'm Kevin, this is Pokésports. Have a great night. Peace out.